And my personal implementation of local LLMs looks a lot like my personal implementation of a hybrid cloud so that I could try to move workloads between my VMware ESXi instance to Amazon. And then, when I did that with a training load that I was using, then I got my Amazon bill and I had a heart attack. It strikes me that we're kind of in that all over again, right? I mean, the repatriation of workloads. Have you seen customers have the token shock and then immediately go to, okay, I'm doing this locally because my GPUs that I went and bought aren't doing anything. I just paid Anthropic X millions of dollars. Now I'm bringing it back local.
Yeah, I mean, very early on in the generative AI world, I mean, we worked with a customer who they were they're an education customer, and they were working on a um, very simple chatbot that leveraged RAG, and it used OpenAI, and they started doing the math on how much it would cost for them to scale it out to kind of the expected user base,
Yeah.
and it they couldn't do it. They couldn't afford it. And
Yeah.
so we helped them shift that over to, we actually ended up shifting it over first to a AWS instance just running using CPU. And then we shifted it to run locally on a laptop because at that point it was then on the end user to have a more, have a laptop that was powerful enough to run it.
Right.
And it wasn't their cost to kind of provide the chatbot was really down to any kind of fine tuning or kind of updates that they would have to push out for the application over time. And so I think that gets back to the kind of the comment you made earlier is like, are we are we doing what we need to do to make sure that the AI is in service of the business goals, right?
Yeah.
And not the other way around, not just
Yeah.
the shiny toy in the room. Um, and it takes understanding I go back to kind of the cloud analogy is great because if you think about the early days of the public cloud, people just lifted and shifted VMs from the data center into the cloud, and then they realized that that was a horribly bad idea, right? The bill was outrageous, and then it was eventually okay. We're going to design these things to be kind of cloud native, and then they realized that that was expensive to rewrite all the applications, and then it was okay, which applications would benefit from this the most? And so then you had more practical approaches to it. And then you had, here's the business value. Here's my application that needs to be, that's changing frequently enough to warrant putting it out into the public cloud where we would have kind of the requirement to push frequently, or it's the load is more dynamic, right? We're going to
Yeah.
run a sale this week and not next week, and so we need more capacity this week versus last week. So we have to get to the same kind of understanding with AI and the same kind of practice, and that's where you start to really you really start to apply some of the same methodologies, right? What's the business value of this given workflow, right?
Yep.
And what's it cost for me to use AI instead of using the previous flow? And so if you don't, and part of the problem there is you're going to have to understand how much that your previous uh, method of execution cost, right? So that when you go and look at the AI version, you can now, okay, here's how much the AI version cost. Let me do that comparison. Um,
Yeah, yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, and I can only speak from my own experiences, etc. You start to do wildly interesting things because you were never able to do them before, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're driving economic value. Okay, so if
correct.
we just park that side of it, a well characterized problem that you can understand the before and then hopefully the after cost model, vitally important. So that's actually something, there's no right wrong pattern to that, but that's like a check mark, I think, for the practitioners on this call is, can I measure the before and then measure the after appropriately, which is exactly the problem set that we eventually got to in cloud, which is before I shift it, I need to be able to do the characterization ahead of time. And if we don't need infinite scalability because of the variability of what we're trying to do, don't use it.